On March 2nd at 7:30 a.m. by Moscow Standard Time, the most extraordinary mission to the ISS was brought to its end. Russian astronaut Mikhail Kornienko with his NASA colleague Scott Kelly returned to Earth after spending almost a year in space. Welcome home, Mikhail Borisovich. Take him. Careful. Be cautious. Put him down. Okay. That's it. Now drop off. While on his mission, Mikhail Kornienko has been the host of a documentary about life on board the ISS. Today, you'll learn about the last day of this one-year mission and find out more about the work done by the Special Search and Rescue Team conducting the astronaut retrieval operations. You'll see the exclusive videos made at the moment of the landing that were never broadcast on TV before. To be exact, Mikhail Kornienko and Scott Kelly's mission lasted 340 days, 8 hours, and 44 minutes. That is the record for the longest single stay aboard the ISS, which is sure to remain unbroken in the near future. However, during their 340-day mission, records were probably the last thing on the minds of the astronauts. Each day of their stay became part of the most substantial scientific experiment on the International Space Station ever. Well, my dear friends, it's time to say goodbye. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for being so supportive during this hard year. We're returning home. Staying here are 3 astronauts, 3 friends of ours, Yuri Malachenko, Tim Kopra, and Tim Peake. A bit later, a new crew of 3 other astronauts will join them. Here I leave a part of myself. I hope one day I'll come back to the ISS and meet you again. Here's my cabin. I've already taken off the crew emblem. There's a tradition to hang an emblem over the entry. The cabin is empty at this moment. Yesterday I conducted a special cleaning procedure that took 3 hours. To do that, I had to halfway disassemble it, clean all the air ducts, as ventilation is crucially important. We can't do without it in space. Yes, that's my cabin. The computers are left here and wait for the next crew. Probably Oleg Skripochka will live here after I leave. Well, these are packages, small bags, which are always useful for storing various things. That's the way it is. As you see, my sleeping bag that should be fixed along this even surface is already packed. We're getting ready for the departure, dear televiewers. And now a small piece of mirror. Dear televiewers, this is our friend Tim Kopra, commander of the ISS. Now he's got some work to do, and before leaving, he wants to address you with a few kind and warm farewell words. Tim, please. Thanks, Misha.
I would just like to say, as the brand new commander of Expedition 47, and having been a crew member on Expedition 46 with Misha, it has been such a pleasure to get to know Misha and work with him. I consider him a great friend and an outstanding astronaut and colleague. And thank you so much. And I would also like to say that we have this orbiting laboratory, and I'm so grateful for the work that Misha has done here on this great mission.
Thank you, Tim.
Hello, I'm Tim Peake on board the International Space Station, and it's been a huge privilege to be up here to be serving with my fellow crewmates. We're a fantastic orbiting laboratory here in space, doing great science every day and maintaining this wonderful outpost in space as well. It's been a pleasure to serve with my Russian crewmates, and I've really enjoyed working with Mikhail Kornienko and wish him a safe and successful landing today, and of course Sergei Volkov as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks a lot. Let's shake hands. Thank you. Thank you for your warm wishes. And Commander Scott Kelly, my friend and partner on the one-year mission. Make him feel welcome. Today, in 11 hours and 30 minutes, we're going to descend. It'll be very soon. Yes, very soon. And a small piece of Earth from a viewing port of the American Module Lab. Now we're flying above the night side, my dear viewers. During this mission, Mikhail Kornienko has made the most peculiar journey around the world. He circumnavigated the globe almost 5.5 thousand times. To get back to the homeworld, the astronauts had to manage several orbital passes while already aboard the Russian Soyuz spacecraft. Flying through the ISS modules, I won't say for the last time, as I hope to come back. Now we're moving into the Russian module, Zarya. Also known as FGB. By the moment when Mikhail Kornienko was making this video, the ground personnel were already fully prepared to meet the astronauts. The search and rescue team, that is most of its members, was monitoring the localities near the settlement of Zhezkazgan in Karaganda region, where the capsule was to land. A few helicopter teams and some ground personnel controlled the secondary landing sites, and several crews and all-terrain vehicles were in the vicinity of the touchdown aim point, 150 kilometers southeast of Zhezkazgan. The search and rescue operations are conducted by about 200 Air Force and the Russian Central District Air Defense officers, including the officials of the Federal Air Transport Agency, the Cosmonaut Training Center, and the aerospace company Energia. These are professionals accustomed to performing very specific tasks.
I talked to the flight director this morning, everything is going well.
2 days before the touchdown, Karaganda witnessed a general meeting of all the military and officials taking part in the search operation. By that time, they've been informed about the exact location and time of landing, so the optimum situation applies the examination of both primary and secondary landing sites. Don't touch the red items. Don't approach the exit. That's flight safety precautions. Who's sitting here? You? You'll monitor. The regular crew of this helicopter would hardly need such instructions. But now it's carrying photographers and camera operators who have come to Kazakhstan to welcome the astronauts. The day before the capsule touchdown, journalists, among the others, are flying to the so-called Operation Airfield located in Zhezkazgan. It's the nearest one to the capsule landing site. total, the search and rescue operation is performed by 12 M18 helicopters, 4 AN-12 and AN-26 airplanes and specific land transport vehicles. Situation report received. Okay. This is the crew of one of the search and recovery vehicles. Our camera operator has been traveling with them for 24 hours already. He was the only journalist who was allowed to join the land-based search team. So you're lucky to watch the most exclusive video. Four all-terrain vehicles are now approaching the touchdown aim point. At the same time, other two are going to the secondary landing site. The land-based search team is to reach the aim point well in advance so that it could send the data about the actual weather and atmosphere pressure to the Mission Control Center. How do you read me? Over. 5 by 5. Tinashayev speaking. The crew as well, that's essential. Sometimes, due to poor weather conditions for flying, only land transport vehicles happen to reach the aim point. In such cases, they set to retrieving the astronauts on their own. But even for all-terrain vehicles, early March turns out not to be the best time for crossing the grassland. One of the vehicles got stuck in mud, and everyone has to dig it out and push. Finally, even the cameraman put his camera down and grabs a shovel. On noticing a pistol flare light, another search vehicle that's got several kilometers ahead is racing to its rescue. The remaining distance they are covering together just to be on the safe side. Having reached the aim point, the land-based search and rescue team executes a halt. The crewmen are getting ready to sleep in the cars. Only a few more hours are left before the capsule touchdown. That's it. We're ready to shut the passageways. And we'd like to say goodbye to everyone and thanks. Today, I'm taking back home these outstanding astronauts, Scott and Misha. Well, so thank you all for the good work. It's been a long time. The former crewmen, especially Scott and Misha, have got tremendous achievements during their one-year mission. We're really grateful to the crew for its work and also want to thank the engineers and managers of our mission control centers in Houston, Moscow, Munich, and Cuba. Thank you for your work and good luck and goodbye. Okay, let's say goodbye and we'll leave. That's it. Thank you for everything. Everything will be tickety-boo. Make yourself comfortable. Bye. Bye. Goodbye. See you on the ground. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Misha, we'll see you.
Till the next time. We'll see you on the ground, Misha. Take care. Goodbye. Goodbye, Cameron. Goodbye. It was great working with you, my friend. Take care. Goodbye. Great work. Take care, guys. Goodbye. Where's my brush? The few photos taken as mementos, and we can close the passageways. But Mikhail Kornienko performs another important ritual, saying goodbye to his space home, where he stayed for a year. Station. Goodbye. Okay, let's go, Sergei. The crew gets into the spacecraft and shuts the passageways. There's 3 hours prior to the undocking. This time is spent on putting on the in-flight spacesuits, making themselves comfortable in their prone beds, and checking all the spacecraft systems. At 4:03 by Moscow time, the Soyuz with the astronauts aboard successfully undocked from the ISS. Observing disconnection with the ISS, best wishes staying. Goodbye, Yuri Ivanovich. See you on the ground. Okay, fine, thank you. Well, we're at the airfield waiting for the departure. The first plane is taking off now. At 9:30 is the first one, and then the others one by one. The pilots worked out a plan, as it should be, so, well, everything's scheduled. Thanks. The deputy head of the Cosmonaut Training Center is talking on the phone with another mission control center located in Moscow. All the participants of the search and rescue operation are constantly exchanging data. The Mission Control Center reports on the spacecraft deorbiting. Everything is proceeding according to plan, and the helicopters are ready to take off on call. I've gained weight over the last couple of years. Is it all right? No, like this. The mask is obligatory. It'll save you from freezing. The journalists are also getting ready for the flight in their own way. The safety harnesses must be fastened, as the photos and videos of landings are always done with an open door. The places are chosen in advance so that all could capture the desired views. An hour prior to the landing, the helicopters depart and fly directly to the landing region. At the same moment in space, the most curious things are happening. The 2-hour undocked flight of the space vehicle has come to an end, and the space propulsion system produces a retrograde burn necessary for the Soyuz deorbiting. Half an hour later, the spacecraft has the habitation module and onboard systems section disconnected. And the crew faces the most dangerous stage of landing. We can observe the passive re-entry capsule. That is what it looks like from inside the capsule. crewmen feel the impact of sustained acceleration that amounts to 4G, and if the capsule has a free flight trajectory, its level can be even higher. Surrounding the capsule is a plasma sheath, the temperature of which rises up to 2,000 degrees Celsius. That causes a break of the radio link, and in this case, one can enjoy the magnificent view through the window. For several minutes, the descending capsule is approaching Earth's surface with lightning speed. After the re-entry deceleration, the parachutes open. Firstly, the auxiliary one, and then the main one. Here starts the smooth phase of landing, and at that moment, everything is already under control. The capsule with the astronauts is being accompanied by airplanes and helicopters by the landing site. That's a great example of aerobatic maneuvering, to say the least of it, as more than 10 crafts are hugging the ground in the same small area. A strong wind has blown the capsule several kilometers further from the aim point. But in a couple of minutes, almost all the participants of the search and rescue operation have reached it. When we start the evacuation, step aside. The Sergei Volkov is the first one to be helped out of the capsule. Then came Scott Kelly's turn. Hail to American heroes. Scott, well done. Mikhail Kornienko is the last to leave the capsule. Now his one-year mission can be considered completed. Mikhail Borisovich, welcome home. Okay, take him. Careful. Put him down. Down, down. But the mission of the Russian astronaut hasn't been completed yet. We'll show how Mikhail Kornienko spent the first several hours on the ground and made the first steps on his native planet after a tremendously long space journey. We'll tell you more about the astronaut's physical stay after landing, and you'll learn how the one-year expedition to the ISS actually ended. The special mission for the member of a year-long expedition, Mikhail Kornienko, did not finish with his return to the mother planet. The cosmonaut participated in various experiments, underwent tests, and was under medical control for another 3 weeks. Today, we will tell you about the days after his landing, and we'll show the first interview with Mikhail Kornienko, which he gave on land. I don't get tired of repeating a very simple thought, which seems to me to be incomprehensible to us as a whole, as a society. The thought is that if we don't wake up, don't stop dividing borders and wedging local wars in the very near future, we will face a much bigger issue. The issue of the survival of humankind as a whole. An issue incomparably more important than the squabbles we are having now. We need to join forces to save this planet. This is only the 4th day on Earth for Mikhail Kornienko, and he's already back in his spacesuit. According to the objective of this experiment, the cosmonaut is supposed to land on the surface of a makeshift planet. The researchers and doctors need to understand how a man feels who has spent an entire year in zero gravity, and if he is ready to land on Mars after such a long journey. Okay, we have finished. All right, we finished with the simulator. Take a step back. The research program of the space expedition is not finished with the landing of the capsule. Even more so when it's a special expedition like the one of Mikhail Kornienko. Some tests are conducted straight away after the landing. Others will take a year and a half. So far, we do not know the results that will be obtained. However, watching Mikhail Kornienko accomplish the assignment successfully, it is hard to believe that he was still at the International Space Station only a few days ago. Compared to a year in space, the 3.5 hours that the return journey takes must seem like a piece of cake. However, it is one of the most dangerous and challenging stages of the space expedition. All right, we are ready to shut the passageways. We would like to say goodbye to everyone now and thank you. Today, I'm taking home these wonderful astronauts, Scott and Misha. That's right. That is the reason. That's it. Thanks to everyone for their good work. Make yourself comfortable. Everything will go well. All right, let's get going. Okay, Captain, my friend. Yuri Ivanovich, yes, no, thank you. Great. Good luck. Goodbye. Goodbye. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Good luck. To our next meeting. Bye. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks for everything. Station. That's it. Let's go, Seroja. The crew, headed by the chief, Sergei Volkov, have been preparing for the descent for about 2 weeks. The participants of a one-year expedition have to remember everything that should be done for the descent, and to retain it after a long break. And the spacecraft also required some preparation. It was a new type of vehicle for Mikhail Kornienko and Scott Kelly. They arrived at the station by the Soyuz, which had returned to Earth long ago. Most certainly, they had to stay focused until the end of the mission. And of course, we did our best to help them. I register separation from the station. Best wishes to all staying at the station. Goodbye, Yuri Ivanovich. Goodbye. We were a strong team, working together and returning home together. That's why there shouldn't be any reluctance in getting things done, like don't touch the skies. Otherwise, for them, as professionals, it would feel wrong. They'd feel as if I said something like, I will do everything by myself now and you just sit back. No, that wasn't the case. On the contrary, I was trying to involve them as much as possible so that every aspect of their journey was as comfortable as it could be for the return. After a rather peaceful life at the International Space Station for over 11 months, going back to Earth is a rather disturbing event. In every sense. Stress, gravity, the cramped conditions of the capsule after the spacious modules of the space station, the outside temperature of 2,000 degrees. However, it's not the first Soyuz flight for either Mikhail Kornienko or Scott Kelly. The astronauts had a prior opportunity to acquire confidence in the reliability of the Russian spacecraft.
The Soyuz is very, very capable vehicle. It's very well designed for getting 3 people to and from low Earth orbit. And I would fly on it again in a heartbeat. And it's very, very exciting. And if I hated being in space for 6 months or a year, I would do it all over again, just for that last 20 minutes in the Soyuz. But I didn't hate being in space for a long time.
The descent capsule will land at 7:29 a.m. Moscow time, 147 kilometers away from the town of Zhezkazgan in the center of Kazakhstan. Mikhail Borisovich, welcome back. Don't rush, watch out. We're gonna send him down. Initially, the plan was for Mikhail Kornienko and Scott Kelly to get out of the descent capsule all by themselves. thus imitating the landing on the surface of another planet where Pioneer astronauts will have nobody to assist them. However, on the day of the landing, this idea was dismissed. Welcome back. Thank you. How are you? Are you okay? All right, please move away.
Being in space for a year is a hard time. Yeah, I know it's been suggested that Misha and I really weren't in space because we looked so good coming out of the capsule, but I can assure you we were there. And yeah, it's not easy living in space for that long, but we were excited to get home, and I think our enthusiasm for getting back to Earth made us look maybe a little bit better than how we felt coming out of the capsule.
A visit to the sun, and we are ready to go back to space. How does the Earth's air feel to you after the station? What are you saying? How do you find the air? I already said that the air on Earth feels as if you could cut it with a knife and spread it on a sandwich like butter. Thank you. See you in Moscow. Our cosmonauts are taken to the mobile laboratory of the Institute of Biomedical Studies, which is situated right there in the field a few meters from the capsule. Immediately after the landing, the expedition members will undergo a so-called field test. After a lengthy spaceflight, the simple act of sitting on a chair appears to be a challenge. However, Mikhail Kornienko is managing quite well. The cosmonaut was somewhat prepared for the fact that he would not have much opportunity to rest after the flight due to the immense interest from the science world in the members of a year-long space expedition. 5, 6, 7, 8. It is important for researchers to determine the time required for the cosmonaut to adapt after the landing. The field test includes simple movements, for instance, standing up from a seated position and walking on an even surface. Then evaluating the discomfort that the movement might be causing to a person who has recently spent a lot of time in zero-gravity conditions. Please rate the pain that the movement is causing you on a scale from 1 to 20. 12. One more time, please. I feel pain in my knees, and it's mainly the musculoskeletal system which suffers, and the vestibular system. Everything has its price, everything. The law of energy conservation, if I was suspended in zero gravity for 6 to 12 months, Earth is accepting me tenderly, yet causing some discomfort, and all body systems must reacquaint themselves with the Earth's conditions. That's it in brief, and it's not a particularly enjoyable process. A special purpose recovery vehicle is parked next to the medical tent, which will take Mikhail Kornienko to the helicopter. The cosmonaut is being supported when he walks, but these are the actual first steps he's taken on the mother planet, not a part of a medical experiment. The trip back home continues. All you want after a sleepless night and a strenuous journey is to have some rest. But everyone on the helicopter wants to take a photo and get an autograph. It doesn't happen every day that you find yourself on board with a living legend who has spent an entire year in outer space. The helicopters deliver the crew to the airport of Zhezkazgan. Russian cosmonauts will fly to Moscow from here and Scott Kelly to Houston.
You know, from like vestibularly, from like a balance and dizziness perspective, I felt really good. I was a lot more sore than I was last time. My legs and muscles were stiff. I had some unusual, like a burning sensation on my skin for a few days. So compared to my last flight, which was 159 days, I definitely felt worse, you know, in the preceding couple of weeks after spaceflight. But the good news is I feel better every day.
I tried to prove, and I think I succeeded in that I can get the better of youth. Age 55. I had my 50th birthday in orbit, and I also celebrated my 55th birthday there, and now I am recovering very, very fast. I noticed that I feel that the recovery goes faster than after the first flight. It's a paradox. I stayed in outer space twice the length of the previous flight, yet I'm recovering much faster. It's important to live correctly before the flight, during the flight, just generally. Sport is the foundation of everything. I am saying some banal things, but that's okay. I swim 1 kilometer a day. The next day after his return, Mikhail Kornienko takes part in the Constellation experiment in the Cosmonaut Training Center. The first stage is a centrifugal ride, which is one of the most difficult exercises in the space training program. Let's wish the cosmonaut good luck. Close the cabin. This simulator is normally used to practice landing on Earth in manual mode. And even though a modern spacecraft performs practically all the operations in autopilot mode, the cosmonauts must be prepared for any situation. Mikhail Kornienko executed his descent from orbit, from re-entry into the atmosphere to the triggering of the parachute system. His physical condition is appraised by the doctors, and we are appraising his skill in performing such a descent. And the results are very good. Briefly, before his year-long flight, Mikhail Kornienko also underwent this test. The instructors compared the results and were quite surprised to discover that some parameters were even better after the expedition. It was as if he had never stayed in zero gravity for a very long period of time, where it is easy to lose those skills. This experiment shows us the capability of one's body to perform the set goals. In this case, it is descent of a landing capsule on the Martian surface. The challenge was to reach a target set by the program, and Mikhail Borisovich did it. However, what can a man do after such a lengthy flight? Won't he be absolutely helpless landing on a different planet? This question was addressed by the experts of the Institute of Biomedical Studies within the framework of the second part of the Constellation experiment. goal of the experiment is to prove that a cosmonaut is capable of working in a normal way after having spent a year in zero-gravity conditions. Mikhail Kornienko shall complete a number of assignments. It's no secret that on the 4th day after the landing, simply walking causes discomfort, and the cosmonaut must perform a few actions dressed in a spacesuit, which is quite uncomfortable by human standards. We are moving to the operating area for the opening of an exit hatch. We are starting to open the exit hatch. The exit hatch is open. During the experiment, Mikhail Kornienko does what one will have to do when landing on Mars. He works with different tools, operates a virtual robot, opens and closes the exit hatch, moves a lot in his spacesuit. It is clear that those experiments are preliminary in their nature. Why? Because it's obvious that spacesuits will be different. For instance, during and after our experiment, we asked the cosmonauts for their opinions and feedback on what they think a new type of spacesuit should be like. And we recorded them. It is clear that the leg section should be different. The viewing section should be different too. Someone suggested providing space for 2 backpacks on it, one to be installed in the front and the other on the back, or for a load to be placed on the shoulders. There are a lot of questions which arise as a result of those experiments, and they will be very helpful to the scientists when they, for instance, design a new spacesuit. It is not yet clear when people might need a spacesuit for landing on Mars or some other planet. It is too early to make assumptions based on the results of a year-long expedition. However, even the first data we have received and the result of this large-scale scientific experiment indicate that a human being is capable of working on a different planet after a lengthy space flight. The main objective now is to create a spacecraft capable of flying to Mars. We make long-term investments to fly to Mars, among other objectives, and to colonize the planet together with, say, the United States. We will have our own plot there. So it's all clear. That would be expansion. Tsikolsky said, we cannot live forever. So this is our long-term investment in the future. We recorded outstanding data with Scott, and the researchers received data that was impossible to obtain 20 years ago. And for me, this is the key objective of our flight. I very much hope that this data will be decoded. It might not happen tomorrow, and might take some time, but those who will follow in our steps will definitely benefit from it.
This is my first time jogging after the flight. So I tried to jog barefoot on the grass. It's very healthy.
Mikhail Kornienko returned to Earth in March 2016. Today, we will tell you what the cosmonaut managed to do in the past months and what he intends to do next.
I'm not going to lie on a couch and hope no one will disturb me.
You will find out what has changed on the ISS in these 6 months, and you will see exclusive footage, as always in our television project, shot by Mikhail Kornienko himself and his fellow cosmonauts. Our scientific program, 90 Days After the Flight, is completed. We are returning the cosmonauts safe and sound. Saturday, the end of July. It's the 150th day after the flight. Mikhail Kornienko has a day off. It begins, however, like any other day of the cosmonaut, with morning exercises. Mikhail Borisovich is in great shape as always. For those months that have passed since the return from space, Mikhail Kornienko, of course, has become accustomed to everything earthly. He can clearly see the difference between home and work. But a cosmonaut is not just a profession, it's a special condition when you always want to fly. Greetings to the viewers of the TV channel Science 2.0 from the International Space Station. My name is Oleg Skripachka. I am a flight engineer of the 48th expedition to the ISS. This is my second flight into space. Since my colleague cosmonaut Mikhail Borisovich Kornienko completed his annual flight and returned to Earth, here at the station something has changed. And now we'll tell you about it. I want to show you the very room in which Mikhail Kornienko lived. You probably remember how it looked then, during Mikhail's annual expedition. But now everything is different here. Now I live in it, with Alexei Ovchinin. And I'll show you what the room looks like now. Now there is an icon, embroidered by my wife. She is fond of embroidery. And I took this image. It reminds me of my wife, of home. I also have this soft toy, an owl. This is my daughter's toy, and she kindly agreed to let me borrow it for the spaceflight time. When we started from Earth, this toy was an indicator of zero gravity in the ship. Just here in the cabin, I have letters from relatives and friends that they wrote to me before the flight. They were handed over and I read them after I arrived here, to the International Space Station. But anyway, some things which belong to Mikhail Kornienko are still here. At the top of the cabin, there is a small handmade Christmas tree, which Mikhail made for New Year, and small Christmas toys. When you wake up in the morning, you see this green piece of nature. You immediately have a smile on your face, and you feel great. For those months that have passed since the completion of the annual expedition, several crews have changed on the ISS, and the station itself has become a bit larger. Now you will see the most important change that happened at our station since the moment Mikhail Borisovich returned to Earth. This is a new module of the ISS. It is called Beam. This is an inflatable module. It was delivered to the station by the cargo ship Dragon in the spring. The new modules have been brought to the International Space Station since 2010. Beam is an experimental module. Time will show if it's possible to use such structures continuously in orbit. Beam will stay on the ISS for 2 years. Several crews are to assess its reliability and the prospect of using it in the aggressive conditions of space. We were watching how the procedure of its unfolding and actually inflating took place. It was, of course, very interesting and unusual. After all, similar constructions had never been to space before. Compared with the volume that was when the module was delivered to the ISS, it increased by almost 5 times. Its volume is 16 cubic meters. It seems not so much, but here at the station, where every extra centimeter of space is valued, it's quite a lot. If it successfully passes this test by space and time, in the future, such modules will be used in the construction of stations on other planets or on the moon. Indeed, thanks to such an inflatable design, it is easier to deliver them into space. Hey, everybody. I saw you on TV. Hi. That's it, sit down. How are you feeling? Don't even think I feel bad. Everything is all right. Hello, Anna. Good afternoon, were you walking? Sort of. I'm going to do this again. When the testing of the new module began on the ISS, Mikhail Kornienko only returned to the Star City from the sanatorium where the post-flight rehabilitation of cosmonauts is taking place. Well, in general, this is quite a busy time too. Strangely enough, it is post-flight rehabilitation. It's experiments, first of all, medicine and so on. And then do not forget that for a year, I've accumulated a lot of tasks at home that I need to do. Now I'm trying to find some time in order to do these tasks. There are going to be further trips. They are planned already. I'm leaving tomorrow to Samara, arrive in a day, then fly to Houston. And this kind of whirlwind goes on. So, I always have some flights. I've never actually had free time so that I could lie down on a sofa and nobody would disturb me. It's never happened. For the first time after landing, Mikhail Kornienko is in the simulators room of the Russian segment of the ISS. Here, during the preparation for the annual flight to the space station, he spent many days training. Just as it used to be. SO, MRM-1, MRM-2. There is a proposed node module that they are going to launch. That is, I do not see any specific changes. Well, there's a mixed feeling and a little nostalgia. And as if I'm going to the station again, and I've just recently returned from it. The annual flight is not the end of the space career. Mikhail Kornienko hopes to fly to the ISS at least once more. The long expedition did not discourage his desire to work away from Earth. Rather, it's vice versa. The first flight is still not enough. Yes, in 2 flights, you already become a professional. Well, a year flight, it doubles, I think. Yeah. And when you do the work that you succeed in, which benefits you, of course, it brings pleasure. It brings some sort of dedication. Yeah, satisfaction, let's say. If you could rewind 2 years earlier when you were offered an annual flight, would you agree without any doubts? Well, yes, I would. If you approach someone and say, "Flight, ready?" and 99.9% will answer you, "When?" Yes. If we say it's for a year, then many will think about it, because it is far from easy, and for various reasons. Open air is the most important. It's good for health. They came up with a good idea. So here I do a warm-up, jogging, and then go to the gym. Anyway, open air is open air. It's fine. So, well, I'm going to jog. This is your first time out on the track, isn't it? This is my first time jogging after the flight. So I tried to jog barefoot on the grass. It's very healthy. Why first? It seems that 2 months have passed. But my knees require a very careful attitude after a long period of weightlessness. And I gave the joints some time to get back to normal. Because the last time I had problems, when I started doing exercises immediately after the flight, I began to jog and I started having problems with the joints. Now, here I'm accurate with this grass, earth. This is energy. The earth gives me energy. Well, I tried to jog for about 4 kilometers at least. So when I'm back to normal, it's better to be 5. Then I go swimming. The next day I ride a bicycle, lift dumbbells in the gym. Again, I go swimming. But swimming is a part of the daily routine. Swimming is Mikhail Kornienko's favorite sport. The cosmonaut missed it very much during the long expedition. The next day after the landing, Mikhail Borisovich went to the pool in Star City. Here, the entire cosmonaut detachment is engaged not only in swimming, but also in diving. They jump with their feet down off a 5-meter height. It's a vertical fall. Hands are stretched, feet down. Then, when it's 3 meters, the head goes down. Vertical jump. And when it's 1 meter, they do backflips and forward. This is done to develop the vestibular apparatus and coordinate the movement in free fall. An American astronaut, Scott Kelly, who also lived and worked on the International Space Station for almost a year, shortly after the flight, announced his retirement.
You know, at some point in our lives, we have to decide whether we're going to do other things. And I'm committed to doing the post-flight medical experiments and debriefs for at least 9 months. And I'll continue to do that. It was just me not being a government employee at the same time. Just gives me the opportunity to do some other things and take advantage of some opportunities that exist. So,
at home in the United States after the annual expedition, he was greeted as a national hero. And this is understandable, because in the history of Soviet-Russian cosmonauts, if there were long expeditions, Scott Kelly was the first American to have lived in space for 11 months without a break.
Scott, get out of here, but before we do, one quick thing I wanted to say, Scott, on behalf of all of us in your team, welcome home. I want to thank your entire family and your friends who have been supporting you, who've been through this, made special sacrifices. I think all of you heard Scott talk about the fact that his flight was another step on the journey to Mars, and he has done an incredible job. People love you. They love everything you've done. So on behalf of all of us, welcome back.
3 months after landing, Houston, our American friends are looking at the results of the main experiments. And 2 Russian doctors are doing the same. This is the second post-flight session. Yes, this is the second post-flight session. Yeah, and I'm actually glad to participate in it. Because this is the soil. Not too tight? Is it okay? Yes, it's fine. This is good, useful work for cosmonautics, for further development of long flights. Several more sessions are ahead of us. Oh, 180 and 360. Yes, the days after landing. This is September and March 2017. NASA Space Center. Mikhail Kornienko came here specially for a planned survey and participation in the ground phase of the experiment, which began before the annual flight to the station and continued on the ISS during the whole expedition. Misha, you're doing well. Well done. Good, Mikhail Borisovich. The results of one of the experiments in which Mikhail Kornienko and Scott Kelly participated may help to understand why the sight of some astronauts deteriorates after a long flight. One of the hypotheses explains that these unfavorable changes occur due to different ways of liquids moving in the body on Earth and in space. In weightlessness, due to the influx of blood to the upper body, intracranial pressure can increase, especially with physical exertion and prolonged work. The difference between intracranial and intraocular pressure increases, causing the deformation of the eyeball. According to NASA observations, 30% of astronauts participating in long space flights had such problems. At first, it will be tight, but only at first. Then it becomes easier when we turn it over. Studies on the scientific program of the annual expedition are still going on. It is very important for scientists to know how cosmonauts feel in different moments of post-flight rehabilitation. This will help in the preparation for future, even longer flights into space. Done! Cheers! Our scientific program 90 days after the flight is completed. We are returning the cosmonaut safe and sound. Previous experience has an effect. It's visible. I started feeling better much earlier. That's paradoxical, isn't it? I had a flight which was 2 times longer, but I perked up. Well, sorry for the slang. I recovered more quickly. I immediately began to swim, so I swam 600 meters the first day. The second day it was 1 kilometer, and then I started swimming for 2 kilometers. I was in a bathhouse 2 days later. I landed on March 2 and went to the bathhouse on March 4. It's like I pre-programmed myself in advance and everything turned out to be okay. Mikhail Kornienko is sure one of the reasons for the rapid recovery after a long flight was regular exercises at the space station. The life of an astronaut is generally an eternal preparation. For example, on the ISS, there was preparation for the forthcoming return to Earth. And here, on the native planet, it is for the next orbital expedition. Everyone has their own path. I like flying. I feel that I've made a contribution. I've been to space 2 times, although the second time can be counted as 2. But you've got to participate in launching 3 times. But this is such a peculiarity. You don't have to take it into account. But I think scientists will be interested. So I was in space for a year, yes. And what will happen to me next? Well, like in 6 months. So I heard the annual flight is still being planned. Maybe I'll take another year. I don't want others to think I'm a madman. Yes, I understand that this is, well, that it's very hard, yes. But this is my job. That's what I like. Sometimes it's hard in a flight. You don't want anything at all. But you understand that you are making a contribution. Yeah, they will collect data from you, and it will be easier for other people to go. Yeah, that's what gives strength. You probably noticed that when you watch videos shot on the ISS, there is music or radio on the background that we love a lot. This is very helpful here, far from Earth, from home, from relatives. And without music, it would probably be much more difficult for us. And for many years now, this musical instrument has been at our station. This guitar, though it's not very often used, helps us with it. Familiar, earthly, native sounds. Some cosmonauts are good at playing. Some know 3 chords. But in space, this is enough to cheer us up. Sing something together. The guitar was brought to the station in August 2001 by the members of the 3rd expedition to the ISS, Frank Kulbertson, Vladimir Dezhurov, and Mikhail Churin. By the way, Mikhail Borisovich Kornienko, during the flight, sometimes took the instrument in his hands and played something too. I won't even try now. It will be embarrassing. I could at the station. The listeners were grateful there. La and mi, yeah, and then la. Well, kind of, yes. There are 3 chords. Cool. Together with our film crew, a poet and musician, Herbert Morales, the son of a Cuban revolutionary, Leopoldo Morales, a comrade in arms of Che Guevara, came to visit Mikhail Kornienko's dacha. Herbert followed the flight of Mikhail Borisovich thanks to the TV project Year in Space. He even initiated the creation of an unofficial cosmonaut fan club. I really liked the reaction of my friends in America. I showed them the movie Year in Space. They watched it several times. They sat down to eat when you were talking about what you eat there. At those moments, they had dinners, lunches, because they also thought that they were eating in space. It's certainly very nice. I didn't expect such talents from myself. If this is actually so, then it is very pleasant. Then I have a goal in life, yeah. They are very good people. I didn't fly in vain. They loved you a lot. I felt yesterday, when I found out that I was going to come here, that we need to remember a good song. Ah, that's right.
Whittle above the water, oh, whittle above the water. The passage of the water is spread out. The bridegroom at the gate, oh, the bridegroom at the gate, the bridegroom at the gate, waiting for. They brought him, oh, they brought him, they brought him a black horse.
Good afternoon. You are watching Astronaut Diaries Year in Space. When we were preparing this episode of this TV project for broadcasting, it became known that the doctors gave their go-ahead for the further space training of Mikhail Kornienko. And if nothing changes, his next expedition will take place in 2019.